The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, The Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our review of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Rogue review. We are going to take a look at Quick Getaway, Calculated Risk, Stylish Coat, and Chuck Fergus Level 2. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Before we get started, a quick reminder of how we rate cards here on The Whisper in Darkness. The best of the best get an Elder Sign, while the worst of the worst get an Auto Fail, and the cards in between get a +1, 0, or Elder Thing respectively. Cards that you build around or cards that are good in one particular deck get a Bless token, while cards that we believe are destined to end up on the list of taboos or are simply bad for the big game get a Curse token. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. You all rock! If you'd like to be amazing like these people and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Cole Monroe Chitty, Nicole Fiskus, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for their contributions to the channel. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back everyone to our reviews of the player cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. We are taking a look at the Rogue cards. This is part 3. The first card we're going to take a look at is Quick Getaway. It's a 2-cost event with 2 agility skill icons. The trick trait, it's fast. Play when an enemy attacks you. Evade. Attempt to evade the attacking enemy. If you succeed, cancel that enemy's attack. So this card reminded me of a couple cards. There's Dodge from the Guardian card pool, which is basically the same, except you just cancel the attack.
Blocks the attack.
You don't have to make any sort of tests. The other was Narrow Escape, I believe it was.
Right. Cancel attack.
Cancels, but it's attacks of opportunity only.
True.
And then gives you a bonus on the following the skill test. What do you think about this one?
This one I think is also very niche because so initially I was comparing it to Dodge, where you just cancel the attack, no test, and cost less. Then I started thinking of it like, okay, so you're getting a fast evade. So then I compared it to Swift Reflexes, where Swift Reflexes you pay 2, get an action. You can do whatever you want with it. So this is kind of like Swift Reflexes, except the only action you're able to get is an evade test. So what are the situations that Swift Reflexes doesn't do the job? Because Swift Reflexes can give you any action. This gives you an evade. So you have to, I don't know, you tell me.
When I went back and looked at Narrow Escape, I mean, that card, it's basically like, okay, I investigate. The enemy attacks me. I cancel the attack and I get +2 on my investigate skill test. If I had Quick Getaway instead, I investigate. The enemy attacks me. I try to evade it, possibly fail. Then I get to make an investigate test without any bonus.
True.
Narrow Escape seems better.
I agree.
I also
cases.
think so. Yeah. Same with Quick Reflexes. Like if you're getting any action you want, that's obviously better than getting an evade. So then I started thinking, okay, so I say I want to move. So I move, the enemy attacks me, I try to evade it, I leave it behind, I assume. Would it stay?
Oh yeah, because you're still in your space.
Location.
Yeah.
But then I get to the next location and I don't get any bonus from Narrow Escape.
Right, that's true.
But
the enemy's evaded.
But the enemy is evaded in this case.
Yes.
Whereas with Narrow Escape, you would move, the enemy would follow you, and then you would get +2 on your next test, which would have to be probably either an evade or you're taking an attack of opportunity to investigate. So maybe
I think Swift Reflexes kind of covers like 99% of the cases you'd want to use this. Because in Swift Reflexes, there are enough action windows out there that you can just play Swift Reflexes, take an evasion test, and that kind of solves the problem. Yeah.
I mean, it is also worst case, I guess it's just a dodge. How many? What are the icons on Swift Reflexes?
I think that one is also 2 agility.
Okay.
Like it had good icons.
Yeah, this one didn't really wow me when
Yeah,
as I
very
started to sort of think
very
about
specific. Hmm.
what I would do with it. There are definitely circumstances where I would prefer to have narrow escape rather than this. Like I
Yeah,
feel
because the
like if you're
bonus it
just
gives you.
dodging an enemy with this does
Hmm.
open up dodge to, say, somebody like Wendy who wouldn't be able to take dodge normally,
That's
or
true.
any of the
Rita.
other rogues not named Skids or Leo
Yeah, or Rita.
or Tony. I think Tony can
Hmm.
take Guardian cards, Guardian events.
It's true. It's true.
So, but I don't. I mean, how many
It's very
rogues
niche.
aren't named Tony, Leo, or Skids have been pining for a dodge?
Exactly. Not even Guardians pine for dodges, in my experience.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like dodge, I think back in the core set was played. I don't see it played that often these days. So if
Yeah.
the Guardians
But
aren't playing dodge, then
yeah,
I mean,
I think there's a niche case with Kimani. I think that's why this card's in in the box, because Kimani likes evading. But even then, if they have access to swift reflexes, play that. I also don't see how this would kick out quick reflexes or quick thinking. Quick thinking. So
right?
I feel like swift reflexes and quick thinking do the job, but it's more general and you can do more things with them. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't play this except maybe as like like if you're really going for swift reflexes, you need a third and fourth copy of it. Then yeah,
rating.
just auto fail. Yeah, like it has like incredibly niche uses, but just play swift reflexes instead, if you can. Yeah, I mean, there's like one investigator, Rita, who can take this and not swift reflexes, but this is a general rating. We're not doing it unless you want to break out the spreadsheet at this point, where we rate every card for every investigator. No, then just auto fail.
I'm gonna go Elder Thing on this one.
Okay.
It does a thing. I think there are other cards that do that thing better, and
Yeah.
we've talked about quite a few of them. There's quick thinking, there's quick reflexes, there's narrow escape. If you
Yeah.
don't have access to any of those cards, then quick getaway will do the job in certain circumstances. But yeah, I mean, it does have 2 agility skill icons, which is really nice.
True.
If it
It's
had
true.
mismatched icons,
Ooh.
then it would be worse, and I'd probably drop it down to an
Okay.
autofail in that case. But I mean, it will cancel an attack in a pinch, and there are certain rogues and off-class rogues who don't want to get smacked, and
It's true.
this will save them in
Hmm.
that case. So
Okay.
can't really complain about that. The next card is one of the cards that I spoiled for the Scarlet Keys. This is Calculated Risk. It's a skill. Gambit and Fated trait, max 1 committed per skill test. Commit only to a skill test you are performing of any type and only if it is your turn. Calculated Risk gains 1 wild skill icon for each action you perform this turn, including this one. After this test ends, end your turn. What do you think about this one?
Okay, so it's kind of like a reverse take the initiative. Of course, we want to look at it. We want to say, I'm going to take 5 actions this turn, and I'm going to get +5 on one of them. Let's think of it as like the base case. So the base case is you get 3 wilds on your third action of the turn. Okay, that's not bad. You get 2 wilds, so the equivalent of an unexpected courage. If it's the second action, oh, but it ends your turn.
Yeah,
Ouch. So you're really
that's a
only using this on
huge.
the third action. Oh man, I wish this didn't end your turn.
Or potentially, as I think people mentioned in the comments for my spoiler for this, there is also Frozen in Fear, which I believe you can commit this to.
Oh, right, because Frozen in Fear is happening at the end of your turn as well.
Yeah,
Right.
potentially, say
Oh.
you take your 3 actions, you test
Hmm.
Frozen in Fear, you're getting 3 wild skill icons, which is
Okay. Now that's niche, but nice at 0 XP because rogues don't have a lot. So what I'm getting at is that rogues don't have a take the initiative. They don't have an inquiring mind. They don't have a promise of power. They don't have a big wild skill card at level 0. They have savant at level 2. Sorry, at level 1, depending on which rogue you are. So like I think in a lot of cases you can use this as like your 0 XP proxy for savant, because savant just works. It's always giving you it's like, depending on the investigator, of course, but in most investigators who could take savant, it's giving you at least 3 wilds, and that's really nice. I love savant. So I can see this being like the 0 XP savant. I don't think I'd play 2 copies, because I'm thinking back to Last Chance, where unless you're playing a specific deck with Last Chance, like getting it up to like 3 or 4 wilds is kind of hard. So you're doing this only for the 3rd test of the turn. Yeah, I think it might be worth 1 copy. I don't think I'd play 2 though. And I wouldn't play this over things like manual dexterity or unexpected courage. I definitely wouldn't play it over savant once I have XP.
Yeah,
So it
I was trying
seems
to
like,
think whether I would
yeah.
prefer when you were talking about take the initiative. It's like, would I prefer to have, say, with take the initiative, you start with 3 wilds and it gets worse.
Yeah.
This one you start with 0 wilds and it gets better, although you only have really 1 opportunity to play it.
Yeah. Well, it's because they're kind of mirroring the whole thing with like Payday,
Right.
and how Guardians have had a few cards that have the bold tag, which means you've got to play them as your first action of the turn. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. But it sounds like they're just bringing back Faded because there aren't very many of them, but they show up from time to time. Yeah, I think this is really niche. I really wish it didn't end your turn, because then I could use it on the 2nd action and get 2 wilds, and then it gets up to unexpected courage level.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't use it in the Mythos phase either, like you can with
No.
like probably the best thing about Take the Initiative is that you can use it in the Mythos phase.
So how would you rate this one?
Okay, so the problem with this card is that when I draw it, I'm gonna wish it was something else. So I'm gonna give it an Elder thing. It does have wilds on it, and rogues don't have a lot of those at level 0. You have to wait for Savant to get those. But it's gonna feel bad drawing this when it's like it could have been an unexpected courage, it could have been an overpower, it could have been a guts, it could have been a manual dexterity, could have been something else that is less restrictive and doesn't end my turn. So yeah, I'm gonna give it another thing.
Yeah, I think you talked me down there. I was gonna go 0 because it has wild skill icons, and I could see playing this on my 3rd or 4th action. Although I think it's a little harder than, say, take the initiative, because with taking the initiative, you sort of know, like you start your turn, okay, I'm gonna fight the thing, or I'm gonna investigate the thing. I know when I'm gonna use it. This one seems a little bit harder to determine. It's just like, well, we have to see how the turn goes.
Yes.
When I get to action 3 or 4, if I'm playing, say, the basic, action generator and say Leo or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, this is one of those cards that, and I agree with you here, that you're going to draw it, you're going to wish it was something else.
Yeah, something that doesn't
in
end
most
your
of those circumstances, and especially during the Mythos phase. Because this will save you from the Frozen in Fear, which, if you are really worried about Frozen in Fear, I guess this is a nice stopgap measure until you can get any of the other Frozen in Fear counters that were released during the Edge of the Earth, whether that being Savant or Counterintelligence, etc., etc. Or if you're playing multiplayer, just have somebody else remove it for you is the other option. If this didn't end your turn, I'd be much more willing to give it a chance, but it just feels like it's too restrictive compared to all the others that do something similar. Like Inquiring Mind, you need a clue at your location.
Yes.
That's a pretty low bar to clear. Take the Initiative, you want to play it on your first action.
Or in the Mythos phase.
A low bar to clear. Promise of Power at a Cursto and no bar to clear really for
Yeah,
4.
it's a tomorrow problem.
Yeah, it's we'll deal with that later, and it probably won't affect us
Yeah.
anyway. This one just seems overly restrictive
Yeah.
for what it does. Like why were they so tough on rogues here? I don't get it.
I have a feeling that the fact that that I wonder if people immediately went to the thing of, but I get a 6 action turn and then I get 6 wilds. Oh, and that's too many. Yeah, we can't have that. And because it's faded, so faded means it ends your turn. Like I think every other faded card also ends your turn. Payday, let God sort them out. Are there even any others? Yeah, but they both end your turn. Yeah, gotta have that. Gotta have that design parallel there.
The next card we're going to take a look at is our first, or I guess our second XP card, since we looked at Thieves Kit level 3 earlier. This is Stylish Coat, 2-cost asset with 1 XP, agility skill icon, item, and clothing. As a response, when you gain 1 or more resources during your turn via another player card effect, exhaust Stylish Coat and gain 1 additional resource. It has 1 health and 1 sanity and takes up a body slot. This one sort of reminded me again of Lab Coat, which we looked at in the,
Yeah, that's right.
in the Seeker card pool. Similar costs, does a thing, and has 1 and 1. And takes up a slot where there's really not that much competition. I thought, well, maybe rogues have more than other classes if you count Fine Clothes and Leather Jacket, and
Yeah.
Trench Coat sees play in some rogue decks as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the easiest way to think about this card is if you're playing Lone Wolf, you gain a resource from Lone Wolf, you exhaust this, you get 2 resources from Lone Wolf instead of 1. What do you think about this one?
I want to compare it to Leather Jacket from the Winifred starter deck. So the thing about the Leather Jacket is that it's fast. This is not fast. This also costs an XP, which feels really bad. It has to be okay. You got to get those resources during your turn from another player card effect, which I look at and I go, oh, so it doesn't work on Jenny. Well, they just didn't want you to. It sounds like they didn't want you to gain a resource every turn just from upkeep, so it has to be during your turn. Okay, so how often are you gonna do that? Not every turn. Okay, so it's not as I'd say it's not as reliable as Lone Wolf. Okay. So now we're thinking it's kind of like Lone Wolf, but not really, because you gotta have some other way to gain resources, not just this. It just gives you more resources. It's a clothing. That's good. It is a clothing in the box, which needed to be in the box, so that way the giant hidden pocket combo could actually work. Man, this giant hidden pocket combo is up to like 14 cards. 14 cards for 1 accessory slot. Yeah. Okay. I'd rather play Fine Clothes because Fine Clothes costs less and does a thing. This just gives you resources, maybe, and costs XP. I think I'd rather play Leather Jacket because it's fast and doesn't cost XP. I'd rather play Fine Clothes because it does a thing and doesn't cost XP and is cheaper.
So I guess the options here would be, I'm thinking, okay, there's Lone Wolf, obviously. There's something like Watch This. If
True.
you gamble, you get an extra resource tacked on. I mean, worst case, you play Emergency Cash. You get an extra resource.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like there are probably enough effects.
Yeah.
That you could get enough resources out of it. I just feel like this is one of those cards that at 1 XP, people will be looking. Rogues are pretty XP hungry because they have so many exceptional cards, and
yeah.
I mean, you're gonna want things like Hot Streak, and
yes,
I just feel like this card will get bypassed in favor.
Yeah, it kind of takes away from your Hot Streak budget, so to speak, if you really want those resources. Like, I'm looking at this and I think, okay, well, do I divert my XP on this instead of Hot Streak? Ooh, I don't know. And then once again, because it gains resources, I want to compare it to emergency cash. So this thing needs to gain 5 resources to tie with emergency cash. So that's 5 turns of something else getting me resources and triggering this.
Yeah,
In order to tie with
when you
emergency
put it
cash.
that way, it seems
It's going to take a while.
it's going to take time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you use it for the soak, it stops giving you resources. You know? I wish it cost 0.
Yeah, but it's a stylish coat. Stylish coats are not cheap.
Yeah, but fine clothes cost 1.
Yeah.
And they're
this is twice as fine as fine clothes.
Yeah, but fine clothes let you like talk people into things. You know, the stylish coat, you don't get to talk anybody into anything when you have stylish coats. It's like a stylish coat that you wear to like a very dark theater, and like people know you're in the stylish coat, but they can't see it. But if you're in fine clothes, you wear that and you talk to people.
Or maybe they assume that you're by yourself because you're playing this in combination with Lone Wolf, so nobody is around to talk to.
So no one's around to talk to. So you're talking about like one of those giant fur coats.
Yeah, you're just stylish for yourself.
Oh, and then when you're talking to people, you've already checked the coat in at the coat check because it's so heavy that you can't wear it into the casino. Right. I think we figured it out.
So how would you rate this one?
Ooh, I'll just do other thing because at least it. I don't think I want to give it. It's not an auto fail because at least it actually does a thing. Yeah, I'll just go with the other thing.
Yeah, okay. I'll give it an elder thing as well. I think I'm trying to think of ways that I just feel like this is going to fly under my radar in terms
It's
of
there
XP.
because the hidden pocket needs to go somewhere.
Well, that's true.
And that's why it's in the box.
That's why it's in the box. We have hidden pocket. We need a coat. We get a
coat.
stylish coat
Yes.
that can generate you resources, but you're spending 2 on this, and then
and an XP.
You're spending 2 resources and an XP, and then you're not using it for soak for at least until you've gained at least 5 resources.
I wish it had.
So.
I wish it had 2 health worth of soak, because then you could do Lonnie Ritter and use it to like heal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That would be, or at least just have 2 so you can like dump 1 on it
and still gain resources.
And still gain the resources.
Yeah.
So it's actually doing what the function of the the soak is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're giving stylish coat an elder thing.
We still haven't even gone over the fact that a coat can absorb horror and how the hell that works.
Maybe you pull it over your head.
It's obviously got a hood. Yeah, you go.
Well,
oh my God!
There's no hood in the art, so that wasn't included in the art notes when they send it to the.
Maybe
we need a stylish coat with a hood.
Yes, you need a stylish coat with a hood, so that way you can avoid the horror. Yeah, I just don't know. Without a hood, I don't know how that works.
The next card is a downgrade for a card that we received in the Winifred Habermock starter deck. This is Chuck Fergus, O'Banion Driver, level 2. The previous version was level 5, I believe. 4-cost asset, combat and agility skill icons, ally and criminal trait. Response: when you play a tactic or trick event, exhaust Chuck Fergus to choose 1. That event gains fast. That event costs 2 fewer resources to play. You get +2 skill value while performing a skill test during the resolution of that event. Chuck has 2 health, 2 sanity, and takes up an ally slot. Now, Chuck Fergus level 5 is essentially the same card, except you got to choose 2.
Yeah.
Now, I have not played Chuck because he cost 5 XP, which seemed like a lot of XP. What do you think about the level 2 version?
Yeah, I like this guy. So as I normally do, I look at the card and I compare it to things that already exist. So if I compare to Leo DeLuca, Leo DeLuca kind of gives you the fast effect every turn, but at the cost of 6 resources. So Chuck is cheaper than Leo DeLuca. You pay XP for him, but it's kind of on the level as Leo DeLuca for the first bullet point. But Chuck has 2 more bullet points. And I'm like, okay. He makes events. He could instead make the event cost 2 fewer resources to play. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. So it's like he's giving you 2 resources a turn, given that you're playing a tactic or trick. That's a lot. Or he's giving you +2 skill value, kind of like a high roller, and it's like, okay, and this is pretty flexible. And unlike something that does a lot of different things like the red clock, you get to choose which one you need at the time. So I feel like this guy is not overwhelming because his effects are kind of in line with things that already exist at a similar cost. But then so his effects are in line with things that already exist, and you get to choose which one you need at the time. So I think this guy is actually pretty good.
Yeah, Chuck level 5, you got to pick 2, which seemed...
He's so expensive.
Which seemed, I mean, sure, you get to play something
Mm-hmm.
fast for cheap, or, any combination of those that you wanted, but 5 XP was way out there. I basically ignored Chuck Fergus level 5, and so I'm not really familiar with what kind of tactics or tricks work best with him. I know there were some players who Chuck got a lot of love from some members of the community. I think that they will probably be happy that they can pick him up now for 2 XP and just get one of the things rather than 2.
The key thing that this does, which is very important, and it kind of addresses the key problem with Chuck Fergus level 5, is the fact that Chuck was level 5 meant that it became very expensive to even get the deck started, to get a Chuck Fergus deck out of the station. So the fact that this one is 2 means you can go with Baby Chuck and you can get the deck out of the station by scenario 2 or 3, and then you can upgrade into the Big Chuck as the campaign goes on by scenario 6 or so.
Right.
So what it means is you don't have to wait until scenario 6 to get your whole concept going, which is nice. I'm really glad he's in the game. I'm really glad they published this guy just for the concept. And I've seen various Chuck decks. People play with Chuck Fergus. I think it's great. I think people have a lot of fun doing it. I'm more of a Lolo Santiago type of guy, or a Delilah O'Rourke. But you know what? Having that additional choice, with Chuck Fergus is pretty great. I've seen a lot of people have a lot of fun with it, and just the fact that he exists, I kind of wish he was. I really wish this guy was in the Winifred Habermick starter deck. So that way you could play Baby Chuck and then upgrade into him, and you can actually get the deck started.
Yeah, I think there are a ton of events in that deck too. That
oh god, there's so many.
The deck is geared towards. It's just if you're upgrading the Winifred Habermock starter deck, you should be buying Chuck, but buying Chuck and all the events to play with Chuck was just seemed so unrealistic that it wasn't worth.
If you're trying to reliably do Pilfer in the Winifred Habermock starter deck, you are looking at 16 XP just for 2 copies of Chuck and 2 copies of Pilfer level 3, and that's it. That's just to get started. And you're looking at scenario. Yeah, that's a lot of scenarios you got to go through. So this is great because you get to pick what effect you need, and you can kind of get the deck going. So good card. Glad he's in it.
How would you rate this one?
Let's see. Do I play this in a deck that isn't focused on playing tactics or tricks all the time? Probably not. That makes him a bless. Yeah, he glues that deck together. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's
–
while he's a little cheaper than the other one, I still think he's a blessed token just because if you're playing him, then you probably have a suite of tactics or tricks that you are going to be playing with him. I mean, it's nice that you can probably play that deck in a variety of investigators, and the fact that now he costs 2, he's now open to off-class rogues, which opens up even more potential for him.
True.
Than the level 5 version did. So yeah, I think you're probably going to build around him. You're going to have the suite that you want, and this guy's just going to make it run that much smoother. So pretty
I'm glad he's in the game.
pretty good card. The next card we're going to look at is Dirty Fighting. It's a 3-cost asset that costs 2 XP. Combat, skill icon, talent, trick, and illicit trait. Limit 1 per investigator while attacking, parlaying, or attempting to evade an exhausted enemy. You get +2 skill value. As a response, after you evade an enemy, exhaust Dirty Fighting, take a fight action against that enemy. Ignore the aloof keyword for this attack. Thoughts on Dirty Fighting?
This one is pretty specific, whereas even Chuck Fergus is like pretty general in that you can kind of use Chuck Fergus on like any of your events. This one is specific. I want to compare this to my go-to High Roller. So High Roller lets you exhaust it, you spend some resources, you might get them back, gives you +2 on any skill you want once around. Okay, so it gives you +2 more than once around if you are attacking, parlaying, or attempting an evade an exhausted enemy. Okay. So if you want to play Dirty Fighting, you're going to want to be reliably using that top part more than once. Oh, this is for Kamani. Yeah, so that way Kamani can get +2 on her follow-up evade, because she has to, they have to evade things twice in order to defeat them. Oh, I see what they're doing here. Okay, so you're playing the enemy handler. Probably someone like Kamani or Winifred, maybe. And you want to be doing that part more than once. Yeah, that's pretty specific. This is pretty specific to Kamani. Free fight actions are nice, though. There's some hilarious stuff you can do with 25 automatic, where you evade and then attack twice.
Does this work with Cheap Shot?
Yeah, because, oh, right. So what it will do with Cheap Shot is that you attack the enemy with Cheap Shot. You don't get the +2 skill value. You then get a free evade off of it. Cheap Shot evades the thing. Then you get to exhaust Dirty Fighting and do another fight attempt. So it'll do that. And then you're looking at 3+ damage. I think in a focused deck that's focused on evading, the fact that you can get effectively an extra action a turn by evading and then fighting is pretty nice. So like I'm imagining like Skids, where you evade the enemy first, and then you get a free shot with your 45 automatic or 25 automatic or Derringer or whatever. I can see that working.
It's the 25 automatic where you get extra damage after it's evaded.
Exactly.
Against evaded enemies.
And I like how they slipped in the ignore the aloof keyword, because if it was aloof, one of the problems with aloof enemies is that once you evade them, you can't hit them. So at least it gets around that, which is niche, but sucks when it gets you, you know. I may have run into this problem before. Yeah. So if you're playing a deck that wants to do the 25 automatic thing, or if you're playing Kamani, I can see this working out. Yeah, because Kamani's the only one who wants to evade an exhausted enemy. So you're really looking at the attacking part. It's still pretty niche because in most your average deck, High Roller does the job. You just exhaust it, you get +2 to any skill test you want, and it just works. Yeah. With this one, you got to be doing specific things.
How would you rate this one?
Ooh, so it's niche, but I don't think it's the glue that holds the deck together. Go with a 0, because there's definitely been more and more support as time goes on with like Tony Morgan and 25 automatics and Trish to an extent for this type of deck that likes to both evade and fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're doing that, it's like a 0. What do you think?
I don't really have strong feelings about this card either way. It's nice that you're getting +2 skill value. For most investigators, it's going to be either attacking and parlaying doesn't happen all that often. So
yeah, and you don't have to parlay exhausted things. So
yeah. +2 while attacking
an exhausted enemy.
It has to be an exhausted enemy. Okay, well that's definitely seems like a Kamani card.
Yeah, although
'Cause
bolas, I think we were talking about bolas. I think it combos with that. If you want to attack the bolas target, you know?
yeah, I don't see myself
Yeah.
attacking a bullet enemy all that often.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. If there was a way to get your bolas back after you defeat the enemy, that'd be pretty cool. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. This one, yeah, I don't really have. I'm going to give it a 0. I don't have strong opinions on it either way. It
Yeah.
seems like very much a Kaimani card. In
Yeah,
which
it's
case,
definitely one of
I would
those
probably
Kamani
say
signatures.
bless.
Oh yeah, because it's kind of like it gives Kamani an extra action, which to actually get the effect through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if Kaimani is really the only investigator you're going to play this in, then it would be a bless.
Okay. I'm
But
starting to
I
see.
can't definitively say
Yeah.
that that's the only investigator that you're playing
Correct.
this in. There may be
Yeah,
other, like it does have, with the 25 automatic, maybe.
I'll take that.
What's his name?
Tony?
No.
Skids?
Oh, why am I forgetting his name? The Forgotten Age rogue.
Oh, Finn. Yeah, that's true.
Finn.
That's true.
Yeah,
Finn, I can see that.
Finn gets
Yeah.
the free evade. If you gear him with a
Okay.
25 automatic, he evades the enemy, exhausts dirty fighting, shoots it, gets bonus damage.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah, I guess a 0 is, I think, right. I don't think, I could see it going in other decks besides Kaimani, so I think 0 is okay. Getting +2 on a fight, having the parlay from time to time, but yeah, it's that exhausted enemy part that.
Yeah, I think support for a deck where this works is becoming more and more. There's more and more of it because it does solve a problem that I have had in the past where I feel like I only have enough actions to evade or fight. And
Right.
if I'm playing a rogue and I'm playing the the enemy handler, I often feel like I need to evade but also kill things. So at least what this does is it kind of buys the action back from trying to do both. And I like how it turns off retaliate as a result. So I can evade the thing, then take a shot. Dirty fighting is giving me the free action. Dirty fighting is also adding 2 to my test. Yeah, I kind of like that in that regard. It is specific though, because I think in most decks where I need to evade or fight, I'm thinking High Roller kind of does the job. Or if I'm like doing fight or investigate or evade or investigate, then I think High Roller is where it's at.
Now,
But
do you get bonus points if you use your Tennessee Sour Mash for that fight action?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you're throwing alcohol at the enemy, and it's at like +5, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
So put that in your deck for the fight action on this card. Smash bottles over people's heads. And 0s across the board for dirty fighting. That's going to do it for our look at the part 3 of the rogue cards in the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. Of course, let us know in the comments down below what you think about these cards. Any final thoughts?
Man, this whole rogue set is pretty niche. Just like we got a lot of specific uses, and then we have Chuck Fergus, which I'm so glad he's in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chuck's the standout in this batch. The others, there's a lot of cards that, like you said, seem very specific, either for Kaimani or for specific decks.
Yeah.
But Chuck is one of those cards that by reducing his XP, they have now made him and his ability available to a whole bunch of different investigators, and that creates more deck space to explore. So that's I'm always in favor of that. That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromlang@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromlang. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.